Hello and welcome at AWE Asia 2021 and welcome to the presentation of Goodly Innovations about enterprise team augmented reality guidance for the pharmaceutical industry. Well, that sounds like quite a mouthful, but let me tell you what this is all about. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are today in this virtual world, in this virtual presentation at AWE Asia. I guess I don't really have to explain to you what augmented reality is, what benefits it brings to you, what fun it can bring to you, because, well, we're here at AWE, so I guess I can take this as a basic fundamental that everybody knows. I would like to tell you about the benefits and what we at Goodly can bring to you and what we might do a little bit differently and why this matters for the processes we are working on. We are a Munich-based developer for augmented reality process guidance systems, leveraging mixed reality technology. As I said, we are focusing solely on regulated industries and the complex processes that exist within those industries. Those can be not the typical 10-step, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, simple row of tasks of events. Those can be rather complex tasks that are executed by teams of several people in shifts with shift changes in between over several hours as a continuous big process that also very often need to be diligently documented in electronic batch records. Let me take a step back. Goodly Innovations was founded by Dr. Dirk Schrader and myself, Robert Hoffmeister. We have vastly different backgrounds, but I think this is actually what helped Goodly Innovation become the company that it is today and the product OptiWorks what it is. My background is more in media and entertainment production. On the technology side, I worked, for example, at Industrial Light and Magic at Walt Disney, about a decade in the San Francisco Bay Area, in different positions, including visual effects supervisor and stereoscopic director. I also, since then, worked about a decade in interactive technologies. Dirk Schrader background is over 2 decades in pharma technology. He actually was in charge of the technology at Bayer's first site in Beijing that was set up in Beijing in the 90s. He planned the whole factory from the production from the technology side. And later he was global head of lean operation excellence at AstraZeneca. And we decided to start Goodly Innovations as a company focusing solely on pharmaceutical processes, but with a spin. At the core, you could describe OptiWorks as a mashup of a multiplayer online game and a very complex database-driven process guidance system for enterprise tasks. Why is that? We are actually allowing a very complex process, like in an online game, the game itself, to run and advance and be documented. And what a player would be in AR is our operator. They can join the process at any time, take tasks that are available for them, and we can document the work. This means you could have a shift change in the middle of the process, but the process just continues on like an online game would. How does this all look? A lot of theory right now. Let me show you a video, but before I go to the video, let's have a quick look at the still image here. As I mentioned before, the business logic for a process like this can be very large, very quick. Let's say you have on this machine, which is actually a photo, which we'll see in the video in a minute as well, one of our customers' packaging lines, where you have maybe 200-300 tasks that have to be executed by a team, in this case of 3 people. We allow with our process definition to cluster them into groups where people can basically roam freely and say, okay, I'm going to this machine, I'm going to that machine, instead of just having a very strict, direct process execution for an SOP, a standard operating procedure, where you have 200 steps one after the other, and where you basically work your way through it. We allow people to roam all over the system, but still you will be guided to all the steps that are still open at the end. And this allows a certain amount of freedom to work, but also the security and safety to have everything done at the end and documented. For example, this could be integrated in pharma, which is called into a MES system, a manufacturing execution system, where the data can directly go in and be used for electronic records. But now let's have a look at the video. So at the end of this video, you saw two people collaborating at the same time at very near tasks. Those were actually the same tasks. Those were so-called 4I principle tasks used in processes like cleaning and line clearance. This means one person has to actually execute, clean an area. The second person has to come there and verify the fact that the work has actually been performed correctly. These are very standard procedures in pharma today, and actually quite important. As you might have heard, just a few months back, there was a massive mix-up in a production facility in the US where one contract manufacturer did mix two COVID vaccines from two different manufacturers, and both batches had to be discarded because of this mistake. To avoid this, it is very important to do those tasks like line clearance tasks. And what we can do, we can actually define processes with tasks to make sure that two different people are executing the task, can sign it digitally right within the software and send the information back into the batch record system where it belongs. So those are the benefits that are huge for the pharmaceutical industry. Other benefits are, of course, the OEE, the so-called overall equipment effectiveness. You're about to save time. That's what actually we set out to do, improve the speed. And I can show this on this little slide here. One of our first customers who implemented the system, they were working, you see that on the red line, with 3 people to execute a very simple task, a secondary packaging line changeover, and their average time was 53 minutes. But after implementing the system, they went down to about 30-minute average. And just within a couple of months, they saved about 45% of time every time they executed the process. Also, the quality was raised, the process was done faster, with less mistakes. So there were a lot of benefits here. But it is not only the speed that really matters, we actually found out. We have seen customers who have really benefited from the fast way to onboard new employees using our system. One customer had about 30% of turnover of employees in a factory every year. That means 30% of the employees are currently always in training. So for them it was extremely important to see that instead of the typical 3-month period that they have to train new operators, they could cut this down to basically a couple of days, and the people were working already at the speed of a trained person without the mistakes that a newbie would actually do. Another benefit customers see is the first time right basically approach to eliminate any deviations. Since you're able to make sure that a process is executed exactly the same way, the standardized way, like the expert would do it every time by every person, no matter if this person is wearing an augmented reality headset being guided exactly to the space, or like you can do it in Optiworks with just a simple smart glass or a tablet. You can have teams actually collaborate with all devices at the same time, really depending on the skill level of the person. So we have customers who are using the system on monolines. It means they're only producing a single product, but every few days they have to change over the material, clean it, get new equipment into the machine. And for those processes, they really need to make sure that there are, for example, no deviations that could create quality problems like contamination. If you have contamination in a filling line, it might take a couple of days until you find out that there was a failure in the system, and then you can basically trash the whole batch that you have produced since you started production again. So along the whole value chain of biopharma production, Optiworks can be used and is used today. One more thing. Augmented Reality Expo has the Augie Awards, and Goodly Innovations did apply for Best Enterprise Solution for the Augie Awards. If you feel that you like the solution, please consider voting for us at the Augie Awards. As I'm recording this speech today, there's no information about a link or somewhere to go, but I'm sure you can find that out. So thank you very much for your time and hope to see you soon. Please reach out to us if you have any further questions or inquiries about starting maybe a pilot with Optiworks. Thank you and goodbye.